أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا. وأعوذ به من شر نفسي إن النفس لأمارة بالسوء إلا ما رحم ربي. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين سيدنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المطهرين المكرمين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في محكم كتابه الكريم وهو أحسن القائلين وأصدق الصادقين: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الناس كلوا مما في الأرض حلالا طيبا ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين. آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. For the purification of the souls and the enlightenment of the hearts, and for the hastening of the reappearance of the awaited Saviour, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, enlighten your souls and the atmosphere with the recitation of salawat upon Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Respected elders, brothers and sisters, Salamun Alaikum wa Rahmatullahi wa Barakatuh. It is used by several billion human beings around the world today. It has made a huge, significant impact to their lives. It brings many advantages as well as challenges that you and I face in our day-to-day interactions. The smartphone is a gadget which has truly transformed and revolutionized the way you and I live our lives. You find since approximately 10 years ago, when the first smartphone came out, we find that there are today, according to the Pew Center for Research in the United States, 72% of the population have smartphones. According to the research published in 2015, in the United Kingdom, that figure is 68%. Hence, you find that the majority of people have obtained this particular gadget. Why? Because they utilize it in many shapes and forms in order to undertake certain functions. You find that companies such as Apple and Samsung and others have invested billions of dollars in order to enhance the smartphone and to make it even more smarter, to develop it further, to make it quicker. And therefore you see the competition to sell as many smartphones as possible. What do we find today? With the increasing usage of the smartphone, one realization that has emerged: people have asked the question, what was my life like before the smartphone? How did I live before the iPhone and before the HTC and before the different applications that are there? And indeed, when you and I once or several times in our lives miss the phone in that we forget it at home, or sometimes we've lost it, we really feel the impact, isn't it? That something so crucial in our lives is not with us. Indeed, with this smartphone have come a few other interesting elements, like, for example, the rise in the taking of photographs known as selfies. Today, it is estimated, according to Ofcom, which is the government regulatory body for telecommunications and broadcasting, that in 2015, 1.2 billion selfies were taken. People enjoy taking pictures of themselves, by themselves. Yes, one individual said, I am convinced that selfies have a relationship with ISIS. Someone said, why? How can you be so sure? He said, Daesh equals selfies. He said, why? He said, isn't it that people take selfies and they photobomb each other? Yes? The idea is what? that this element in the lives of people is quite important and significant. I tell you, today, even the 3, 4, 5-year-old know how to use a smartphone. It has become so integral in the lives of human beings that we cannot indeed ignore it. And it's a subject that must be discussed. In which way? Today there are so many applications within the smartphone that people use, from the weather towards, for example, checking the different currency rates, towards games and shopping and diet and weight loss. There are hundreds of thousands of applications that people are downloading and utilizing on their smartphones today in the world. The question people ask is, what is the position of the religion of Islam as far as the smartphone is concerned? Because there's no doubt the religion is not a religion which is confined it to that back in the time or historical terms. The religion moves on in the time in that it is always applicable. Therefore, when it comes to a believer, when it comes to an individual who have subscribed themselves to this constitution of well-being in this world and akhirah, known as the religion of submission, the religion of Islam, people ask, what are the directions that the religion or Sharia law grant us as far as the usage of smartphones are concerned? Namely, because of what? Because of the fact that as believers, we must recognize and be cognizant of the fact that you and I are not the same as anyone else, in that there is a code of conduct that governs our lives. Because sometimes when you speak to the youngsters, to the youth and others, when you present them with these restrictions as far as the utilization of technology is concerned, they say, even this, you would like to restrict our usage? In other words, people often object. They say, well, there are no clear ayat, there are no clear narrations with regards to the smartphone or regards to social networking or these new technological advances. Why should there be a restriction? People come forward and object. The answer to that, of course, is that the human being as a believer who indeed submits to the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must recognize that what? There are limitations, and limitations which are drawn through Sharia by the ulama. I'd like to discuss smartphone in today's world by analyzing 2 verses of Surah Baqarah, 168 and 169. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in 168, chapter 2, Surah Al-Baqarah says, Ya ayyuhan nas. First of all, the addressees are not believers. It is all of humankind. Kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba. Although the introduction is regards to food, eat from what is produced from the earth, that which is legitimate and that which is pure. But indeed we can extrapolate this to what? To the utilization of technological advances such as the smartphone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the element that must be adhered to is what? Number 1, halal, that it is permissible. But number 2, the philosophy of it being permissible is that what? That it is good for you and I. Tayyiba. It is pure. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made something legitimate, no doubt there is wisdom behind it, and that needs the individual to be cognizant of and submissive towards. وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌ مُبِينٌ. Do not follow the steps or the commands or the inclinations of Satan, because he is your manifest enemy. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala warns us of shaitan in many places. Iblis is mentioned in the Quran in numerous occasions. Allah Jalla wa Ala in this verse says that shaitan will not sit there waiting for you to slip up. The shaitan is very clever and will orchestrate and plan for each human being a specific strategy known as khutuwat. Yes, a strategy in order to cause the downfall of the human being. This is unique for every individual. Don't think this is universal for every human being. No. Every individual, the shaitan will draw according to their inclinations, their weaknesses, their desires, a particular plan for them in order to lead them astray. إِنَّمَا يَأْمُرُكُمْ بِالسُّوءِ وَالْفَحْشَاءِ. This is 162. Quran says shaitan commands you towards 2 things. First of all, and then the third. First is su', second is fahsha. What is the difference between su' and fahsha? Quranically, as far as the ulama of tafsir is concerned. They've said su is whatever constitutes disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, transgression. Whichever is sin, that is su. Shaitan commands you and I. Ya'murukum. Does he? Well, the ulama say, when we understand this verse, we look to the idea that the shaitan first of all whispers. And the closer we are to shaitan, in that the more obedient to the whisperings of the shaitan we are, the more stronger the shaitan becomes. And therefore, at a stage in the life of a human being, it is as if the shaitan is commanding us, and we have what? No choice but to respond and become obedient. So this innama ya'murukum comes at a stage. It begins with small whisperings. It begins with slight inclinations, yes? And later develops to more intense feelings, that when sometimes human beings say, you know what? I couldn't control myself. I was not able to hold myself back. Why? Because the impact of the shaitan was such that they felt the impulsive need to commit that act. Why is the impact of the shaitan so strong? Because they've allowed it to be. Yes, they've gotten this relationship with the shaitan that's become so strong. And Allah says He does not only command you to commit bad acts or sins, but fahsha, evil. Fahsha is worse than su. Fahsha in the Quran is discussed in relation to sexual criminal acts. Yes, this is one area, but ulama say it's even more than this. It is whatever is deemed to be a big sin, a great transgression. وَأَن تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Third area in which the shaitan works in his plan and his strategy is to make you say things about Allah and the religion and the people of God, meaning the prophets and the imams, without knowledge. Take this and let's apply it to where? To the discussion of the smartphone. What are the challenges that we find when it comes to the smartphone? The first thing to realize is that we have iPads, we have iPhones, we have iMacs. No doubt we have iShaitan. No doubt. That the shaitan, despite the fact that smartphones help us in many shape or forms, in which way Muslims have developed a good developments in smartphone technology, you find many apps that are used by Muslims, like what? Like Qibla. People like to, for example, download these apps to find the Qibla. Although unfortunately their authenticity leaves a lot to be desired. It's not as accurate, but it may do the trick. Likewise, there are many, of course, apps related to the Holy Quran, apps related to Hadith, apps related to libraries, which bring forth the availability of knowledge and much extensive texts for people to study. At the same time, we have indeed some interesting apps, like an app for istikhara. Yes? I don't know if you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, don't download it. This app for istikhara, when you press it, it will say make a niyat. You make a niyat, then you press it again, it says not good. You press it again, it says good. You press it again, it says maybe. Yes? Even this has gone to the extent that people have designed apps for these kind of usages. Now, when it comes to the first element of what the shaitan impacts as far as the smartphone technology is concerned, is in relation to the time we spend on our phones. Meaning, we have estimates or research that has been published by Ofcom that says in 2006, approximately when it comes to average time spent on the phone by people was 10 hours a week. Yes, approximately 10 hours a week people use on their phones. Research published in 2014 showed that this had doubled to 20 and a half hours a week, which averages to 3 hours a week that 3 hours a day that the human being is on the particular instrument. Yes, 3 hours a day. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted us time, not that it belongs to us. Every second of our lives will be held accountable by the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَقِفُوهُمْ إِنَّهُمْ مَسْئُولُونَ. The Quran says, stop them. They are responsible. Yes? That's why there's a famous statement that says, yesterday was history. Tomorrow is mystery. Today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. Yes? The idea is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given this time for you and I to utilize. And it is not for us to waste. It is not for us to kill. It is not for us to somehow misapply. Yes? Therefore, the correct understanding of what is time is necessary, because the Quran swears by it and says, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خَسْرٍ. The time and the utilization of time is of the utmost importance. I tell you, some people say time is gold. Islam says that's false. Time is much more worthy than gold, because gold you can replace, but time you cannot. The moment today, this moment is passed by and you cannot obtain it back again. Yes? Time which is spent on what? Things which are what? Things which get us away from Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala, or useless elements, is what is problematic. I tell you, if God forbid, where someone was to say to us today, a doctor or someone else, today is our last day on earth, that tomorrow we'll leave. Tomorrow is the day of meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the beginning of Alamul Barzakh. Yes? How do we respond? In which way do we respond to this? We say, I'm going to spend 3 hours, yes, on my Weight Watchers app. Will I be doing this? Or will I say, I'm not even touching my phone, I'll be on my prayer mat, or I'll be doing something righteous, because I only have a few hours in this world. Yes? None of us knows whether they'll be passing away tomorrow or not. Well, none of us knows whether we'll be alive in the next 10 minutes or not. And that brings us nicely to the second challenge. The second challenge, where the eye shaitan works so hard, is the viewing of inappropriate material, images and clips. You see, this element is of great importance. Why? We have people, unfortunately, today addicted to this type of obscene footage or obscene clips. We have people today who have unfortunately developed a habit of looking at this. Or, God forbid, there are adverts that come up, or images as part of advertising and so on and so forth, that you and I may be bombarded by when it comes to this element. We have a hadith from our holy sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad Al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. An-nadharu sahmun min sihami iblis. That the eyes are one of the arrows of the many arrows of shaitan. Yes. That today when we are on our phones, people say that indeed it's a great challenge. Because back in the time, if you wanted to access this material which is forbidden and haram and heavily punishable by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you needed to buy certain magazines, you needed to buy certain movies and tapes. Today it's at your disposal, in your own pocket. It is accessible 24 hours a day. And therefore there is a more of a pressure. There is more temptation from the shaitan. And one of the remedies, people ask, well, this is quite a challenge. Some people are finding, yes. One of the remedies is what? There are many remedies that can be presented, but unfortunately time does not permit. One of them is what the holy beloved Prophet of Islam has mentioned in a narration. اذكروا هادم اللذات. Remember that which destroys desires and temptations. What is that? Death. Al-Maut. When an individual thinks about the fact that it's a universal law and applies to every human being, the fact that they might leave any moment, how will they face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? One of the ulama said beautifully, if God forbid you are on your phone and watching this haram, and that moment Israel takes your soul, how will you face Allah? That moment of this severe gунah, you're facing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Leaving this world in that state. What will you say to the Almighty Jalla wa Ala? You might not get a chance to ask for tawbah or istighfar. It might be too late, yes? What is it that gives us this false sense of immunity and some kind of security when we go through these particular sites and these particular images? Yes? The remembrance of death. And I tell you, this is applicable to the elderly as well as the young. I'm often not the one who mentions personal stories from the minbar, but I tell you, a year and a half ago, an 18-year-old cousin of mine, direct cousin, in Kadhimain, Baghdad, healthy, not involved in any problems, yes, did not go out and get blown into pieces by the bombings that there, was not kidnapped. He was in his own bathroom, yes, opening the tap. All of a sudden, there was a problem with the electricity board or something to do with the boiler. There was an electric charge. He opened the tap, and he was completely electrocuted and met his Lord. Gone. 18 years of age. Now somebody might come and say, you know what, I'm not sure. It can apply to any individual. Ask the blessed brothers here at the Ghusl Kafan committee. How many youngsters and youth that have had to wash their bodies off? Let's not be arrogant to think that, death will not come to me. That realization, yes, to go to the Qabristan, to go to the cemetery and to think and to reflect, if I am 6 feet under, who will help me? If I have engaged my life in what? In this kind of sin. In the utilization of what Allah has given me, the ni'mah of the eyes, the ni'mah of what? The health, and the ni'mah of owning a smartphone. Indeed, it's a ni'mah, isn't it? It's a blessing. Yet how do I utilize this particular favor from the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala? That's number 2. Number 3, another major challenge that we are facing today, arguably, is the problem with the lack of the development of communication skills between people. Meaning what? Meaning today, because of the increasing usage of these particular instruments and gadgets, because of social networking, our youngsters and others are becoming weaker at face-to-face communication. You come and speak with them and they struggle to communicate. Yes, we mentioned the other day that once I was meeting a brother and I said salam to him, alaykum as-salam, how are you? Alhamdulillah, staring at my face. Yes, and all of a sudden I mentioned, for example, a particular humorous reference. Oh, I haven't seen you for such a long time. It might have been at your ghaiba. And I could see he only wishes to type lol on his mind. He is not able to communicate, yes? And this is a challenge we have to have phone-free zones in the house. The bed, when you go to sleep, when you come to eat at certain times, yes? I'm surprised. I saw in my own eyes people doing tawaf next to the holy Kaaba and sending WhatsApp. Yes? People between Salah, Maghrib and Isha. This. Subhanallah, it has become such we cannot leave it. We must block certain times of the day and make it phone-free zones, phone-free times. Why? So that we can continue to develop some communication skills, the ability to project ourselves in the correct manner when it comes to others. Yes, that's another challenge. But arguably one of the most difficult challenges as far as the utilization of smartphones is concerned in today's world is what? Is social media and social networking. Yes, today you find many people are on social media many hours a day and they'd like to present themselves in a particular manner and place pictures and videos and have conversations and so on and so forth. Very briefly, what is the main problem that we are finding? Of course, we are only looking at the negative elements. There are many positives that can be drawn from the utilization of social media. But one challenge that I would like your attention for is the idea that social media's currency is attention. Meaning what? Meaning you don't see people posting on social media what? I am having a normal day. Just thought I'll say it to people. You don't see that. Why? Because they would like people to recognize or to somehow approve or to in one shape or form give attention to what they are saying. Therefore, it is about the likes. It is about the retweets. Is it about the number of friends that people have, isn't it? That there is continuous struggle about this on social media, whether it's on Facebook and Twitter or on Instagram and other places, yes? And hence you find today there is a phenomenon known as Facebook depression. It is something that exists out there. There is social media addiction. Yes, people find that because they don't have what others have or they can't present themselves like others, they feel low self-esteem, low self-worth. And hence it causes further problems, both health and spiritual problems for the human being. Therefore, one important element when we are on our smartphones and thinking about posting something and placing something on social networking and presenting ourselves is what? The first thing is, one like from Allah is better than 500 million likes from human beings. One like from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore, as a believer who goes online and on these social networking sites must have a recognition that anything and everything that they post, they'll be held accountable for. Before we press the send button or post button, we must stop and think, is this the correct thing to say? Is this the right thing to do? Yes. Is this the best approach? Because sadly, sometimes we find hypocritical positions and presentations on social media. How can individuals like pages associated with the Quran and Nahjul Balagha and at the same time like pages of pop stars and others which are what? Away from the religion of Islam. How could this possibly be? Yes. Likewise, when it comes to our presence in this particular mediums, we have to recognize an important element, and that is the need for us to exercise and to demonstrate haya, modesty. Yes, embarrassment before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The beautiful hadith from the Imam alayhi salam. Do you know what it says? It says, La haya liman la dina lah, wa la dina liman la haya lah. That the one who has no haya has no religion. Haya means embarrassment, shame. And the one who has no religion has no embarrassment. It works both ways. Yes. When you and I are out there in this public forum, what kind of image are we presenting of ourselves? Yes, I remember in a particular marriage course, we conducted this exercise. We asked people to look, to examine the profiles, the social media profiles of the others, and to see what kind of image is imprinted in their mind about the others. And this particular exercise was also repeated last week here in the SJ program regarding digital detox. 80% of the people who responded, over 70 who responded last week here regarding the question is, when they look at somebody's profile, will they immediately judge them? Will they come to a conclusion about who they are? 80% said yes. It's natural. How are we presenting ourselves out there determines our reputation, determines how people view us, isn't it? The problem today is that sometimes people think that just because they're online, they're not obliged to follow Islamic teachings. And hence, there is a need for us to develop akhlaq as well as akhlaq. Yes? In all our conduct when it comes to social media, when it comes to being present in the internet and using of the smartphone. In which way? Number one, let us understand that one of the purposes of technology is to grip you and to draw you further and further. That's why it is called the World Wide what? Web. What does a web do? Yes, I leave it for you to decide. What does a web do as far as a spider? I tell you, when you go on YouTube, you're watching a clip, all of a sudden there is another clip, and all of a sudden there is another clip, and you end up spending hours and hours, and you think, well, how did my time went by? Yes? And this is very important for us to recognize, and that realization is crucial. Not for us to let the shaitan take over when we are on our phones or when we are on our laptops and in any other means when we are surfing the internet. That's the first thing. Second thing is, there is a tendency for people to engage in discussions and to post and to talk very freely without any restriction. And here I refer to a term which I used before, which is keyboard mujahid. Do you know who a keyboard mujahid is? Somebody who feels the need to comment and to mention about anything and everything. And they will post 24 hours a day. And they will respond to all kinds of messages as well as posts on social media. They'll just immediately go on there. We are told that we have a responsibility at the end of the day, whatever we say. That's number one. Number two, today you have the phenomena of WhatsApp, yes? People forwarding messages, people posting messages, sending messages to people. One of the challenges that we find today as well, that the shaitan also plays on, is the forwarding and the attribution of hadith to the Ahl al-Bayt, which has no basis. And hence the final part of verse 162. وَأَن تَقُولُونَ عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. You say things about Allah and whoever is associated with the Almighty, that which you do not have knowledge of. I tell you the number of images we have received of statements attributed to Amir al-Mu'mineen. I've said this and I repeat this again, that Amir al-Mu'mineen perhaps arguably is the number one oppressed individual on social networking. People just, Maulana, it's very nice. Okay, it's very nice. Take out the name of Amir al-Mu'mineen. How many times you have these statements, and I challenge you, go to Google today and search them. You'll find it's some kind of philosopher, some kind of, scholar in the past, and they've stuck the name of Amir al-Mu'mineen and they wish to spread it out to people. We have to challenge these. Otherwise, in 50, 40, 30 years' time, it becomes embedded in part and parcel of people's beliefs that Ali ibn Abi Talib said this. Where is the reference? Where is the source? Yes? Just simply forwarding messages without ascertaining the authenticity, without ascertaining their reliability is of great problems. Yes? That's another issue that we have to find and at the same time deal with. And the final element with regards to the idea of akhlaq is is the interaction that people have between the genders. Indeed, this is a challenge that we have also, that sometimes people are slightly relaxed when it comes to online interactions between the genders, the type of images they post. Allahu Akbar. I don't know what is the issue or what is happening of why so many sisters are posting pictures, selfies of themselves standing in front of a mirror. What is this? And this idea, unfortunately, is getting from what? From others, the influence that they have from others, isn't it? That the iman, the haya, the chastity, the hijab, the modesty. What is happening with this? How are we conducting ourselves as believers? How will our holy 12th Imam, when he sees our profile, what will he think of us? What will he think of us? Yes. Have we thought of all these particular challenges? Yes. This area of digital technology, of the smartphone, of how we utilize it, it's one that must be addressed more and more. There must be people who will do research. There must be more scholars who will come out and speak. And there must be discussions in order for us to refine our character, to look at ourselves introspectively, to examine our conduct with much detail. And indeed, the month of Ramadan is a glorious month in order for us to excel, in order for us to be able to move forward, to develop our lives in the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us. But importantly, to challenge and fight the shaitan, who will continuously nag at us and seek any means to take us away from Siratul Mustaqim. Final element is with regards to the spiritual tip of the day. And that is when it comes to time management. We are told amongst the best ways Islamically to manage our times is to be in wudu. Subhanallah. It seems to have an impact on an individual. To be on wudu continuously. That's number one. And number two of great importance is what? Is to have muhasabah. Self-accountability. The Imam say, لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ لَمْ يُحَاسِبْ نَفْسَهُ فِي كُلِّ يَوْمٍ. The one who does not hold themselves accountable every day is not one of us. The seventh Holy Imam says, meaning what? Meaning that we sit and say, okay, have I wasted my time today? How much have I been on social networking? How much have I used my phone? Is it productive? Is it to spread teachings about the religion of Islam? Is it to ask about my family members? Is it to campaign against oppression that is happening around the world? To campaign against despotic regimes like Saudi and others? Is it like this? Yes, that's good. That is encouraged. Is it to hold demonstrations? Is it to make awareness? Is it to raise funds for the needy? That's all excellent. Or is it wasting time? Is it that which displeases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and pleases the shaitan? Accountability must start, and the month of Ramadan is a glorious time to develop it. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us with the love of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And we pray to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us tawfiq to be able to be of individuals who are cognizant of our responsibility online and offline. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa salli lahumma ala Muhammad wa alihi at-tahirin.